Cameras are rolling. So don't cuss this time.
It's hard not to.
Yeah. Frickin'. Okay, we'll see you in a little bit. Bye.
Bye.
She's doing it from her bar at home.
Yeah.
She's got a little bar behind her.
Well,
at the end of the show, she's just going to turn around and just go,
probably need to after this.
I'm out of here. Those guys are nuts, though. I quit the business.
Yeah, that'd be a smart thing.
Oh, Mike, you kill me.
Okay.
And now for something special. The unit is self-contained with its own saddler, farrier, wheelwright and so on. It's a rigorous training dished out who know all there is to know about horses, and it brings results.
We take you behind the scenes now to show just some of the interesting aspects of this training.
Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine, the award-winning #1 podcast to create sounder horses from the ground up. Mike Stine is a registered journeyman farrier with an APF 1 accreditation. On this week's show, joining us live here in the studio, Elise Umstead, who's also an APF 1 accredited farrier, and she wants to talk about communicating with your farrier, burnout and compassion fatigue when you're taking photos and videos of for your farrier, also new client questionnaire that you might want to ask her as well, and so much more. All this will be done here on Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine, and over to my far right side is Mike Stine. How are you?
I'm doing good, Travis. How are you doing? How are you doing?
You did it again.
Okay.
She's in the green room still. She's not
Okay.
in the studio.
How are you doing, Travis?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Mike. You know what? I didn't ask you before we started the show. What's been happening with you for the last week? How are you standing upright? Last week you were kind of Frankensteining around, and you were walking up here.
I'm doing okay. Just had a little bit of a muscle spasm thing going.
Are you okay now?
Okay as I can be.
Okay, I'm worried about you, Mike.
Well, there's not but so much to work with, you know?
All right. So what else has been going on? What have you been doing? Oh, wait, before we start,
right.
I've got something I just want to add real quick.
Right.
So now we're getting into the warmer months. We're getting in a little bit more rainy season, a little bit.
Right.
You know, the highs are around 65, the lows are around 45. Now, we broadcast just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, a little town we like to call Marshville. We broadcast every Monday morning at 9:30 p.m. or 9:30 a.m. PM's on when it's dark out, right? AM is in the morning.
It's somebody's morning.
It's somebody's morning. And I have noticed that our pasture grass is coming in.
Yes, it is.
So you really, really have to be careful. Now, our front pasture, we seed and take care of that front pasture because it's the flagship of the property. When you come in here, you want to see a nice, big green property. You want to see horses that are nice and fit and stuff.
Just put a bunch of flags out there.
But now what we've done is we've had the pasture or had the horses on the back two pastures,
right.
pasture 3 and pasture 2 and pasture 3, which is in the back side of the property. They're grass. One's really, really shady, and the other one's full of grass, not the fine grass that we have up front.
Right.
But now that fine grass that we planted up front is coming in, and my wife goes, normally we throw hay and everything out there, during this time and keep them off the front pasture. Now she's like, I'm going to let them out in the front pasture. I'm like, okay, but we need to back off on the hay a little bit.
We need to back off on the groceries, and we need to limit the time and need to slowly get their time onto it. Yes.
So I just wanted to bring that up to people out there. If this is their first round with a first season of having horses on the property, or just a reminder, be careful out there. Mike, what are you looking at there? You got an article or something you want to read us?
I do have something to discuss, though. The USDA, the Horse Protection Act deal.
Okay, so you've got an update on that.
I've got an update.
What's the update?
I do.
Now, give them a brief synopsis if they haven't been listening to the past couple shows. And if you haven't, shame on you. But now's the chance you can go back there and listen to it as well.
Yeah, the federal government was working on getting very, very involved in the horse industry, and the whole soring deal had been expanded to, putting fly spray on your horse's legs.
Right.
And a few other things that were kind of way over the edge.
They were considering that soaring, which is...
Soaring, yes. And, nobody wants any animals to be abused. But some of what they were putting in there is like to eliminate pads altogether. There's a lot of horses that would end up being retired and out in the field because we couldn't do what we can to keep them in a happy situation as far as working.
Mm-hmm.
And,
go ahead.
And some of the stuff in there was just, there's a federal judge in Texas that has brought a suit on brought a suit on like 4 parts of it, and they're going to delay it until 2026, it looks like we're going to be under the existing rules until then.
And what are the existing rules? What we have right now?
What we have right now.
So nothing's going to change.
Right now, nothing's going to change.
Okay, because I know the last update we had, they were going to look and revisit everything by April 1st of this year.
Right. That's now they're going to look at and revisit everything between 2026 and until May 20th of this year. People can have public input, and they need to have some public input on this.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have these, bureaucrats up there in the office, and most of them have been put there by us,
right?
And we just might not know exactly whether they have the best intention for horses.
Right. There was one point brought up from one of my trainers that the way a horse is ridden could be considered soaring. So, and who's going to make the judgment call?
You have to have some kind of committee or someone like that can set a precedent and say, okay, here's where we're at. Here's what's going on. Is this good? Is this bad? And then it's gonna get even worse because then you're gonna have all these different opinions. You're gonna have horse people that are gonna have all these different opinions because you're not putting the saddle on right. And if you're gonna do this style of riding, we don't do that. We don't do that at our barn. That type deal. The us and them type deal.
Well, also they were talking about having an inspector basically at every horse event outside of speed events, but in time that would change also, I'm sure.
I'm going to be an inspector.
Right. But they were limited.
I'm gonna sign
they were
up.
limited in who, they were changing who could be an inspector and limited who could be inspectors. But they were talking about having inspectors all the way down to your small shows. If you have a horse demo.
You know what it's going to be the equivalent of?
And the cost of $1,000 per inspector per day.
You know what it's going to be the equivalent of?
Right.
You ever seen like Little League baseball?
Right.
When you drive by a middle school or a high school, not high school, but elementary school, and you see the little kids out there and they're playing like Little League baseball, and someone's dad's the umpire of the day, and he gets like $25 to do the umpiring because he went to a school or an online school and stuff. You're going to have all these lower tier inspectors that are just showing up. Oh, that's my daughter up there on the horse, and I'm an inspector. That type of stuff. You're going to have these lower level people.
Well, they were limiting. You had to be a vet tech or a veterinarian.
Oh, well, that
I know that
I guess I'm out of the picture then.
Oh, we could make some papers up for you.
For some documents, get Chat GPT to create something
I'm sure
for me.
There's something out there online that you could be, whatever you want to be.
And they're looking at my paperwork. They're like, approved by Mike Stine? Who's that guy?
No, I was going to use somebody else's name.
Oh, okay. Well, we got a big show to get to, lots to talk about, and joining us here in the studio, if you're not on YouTube right now, join us over on YouTube. Search Equine Dynamics over on YouTube. And you can see this podcast in its full form over there. We have Elise Umstead, who is also an APF1 accredited farrier, who's going to join us and give her version of what needs to happen when you have your horses in the stall, proper behavior, and just a different point of view from someone who's a little bit new into this field of being a farrier. From my understanding, she's been here for 8 years, but I'm going to let her tell her story when we come back. So stick around. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back. All right, let's put her on the big side. There
you go.
So that's the way the show runs.
Perfect.
I gotta fix Mike's picture here.
I feel like I thrive in the work.
Okay, one more time. I'm gonna ask you to back out and come right back in because that last part was really stuttering. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. There we go.
Now.
Are we stuttering or anything on your end?
No, you sound perfectly clear.
Okay, good. You ready, Mike?
Yeah.
All right. Elise, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. Pay attention to her voice and don't watch her on the screen because it's going to throw you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh no.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's just there's like a half a second that you're stuttering, but don't worry about it. It everything's fine. Everything's gonna be smooth. Everything's gonna be calm.
It's kind of like those converted Chinese movies.
Yes. Oh, now they're
Perfect. I love those.
now they're Chinese movies. They were Japanese a minute ago.
Japanese.
All right, here we go.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Well, Am I there? Yeah. Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. Don't forget, you can be part of the show. You can join the podcast. The way you do that is go to equinedynamics.com. At the very top of the page says join the podcast. And you can see there's a big orange bar that says leave a message for Mike Stine. If you have a question for Mike Stine, if you have a comment for Mike Stine, if you have anything, any kind of knowledge out there that you think the show would benefit from, you click on that. Opens up a microphone on your device, on your smartphone. If you got a smartphone right here like I do. Mike's over, has his on airplane mode because he's a good little boy.
I'll learn to fly.
And you speak right into it and it comes right to our inbox, and we'll play it on the very next podcast. Your voice can be right here alongside of us here in the studio. Now, if you don't want to go on the air, that's fine. A lot of people get scared and shy all at the same sentence. You can go to equinedynamics.com, hit contact us. You can physically write us an email. Make sure you put a physical return address, and we'll send you out some magnets, some stickers, and all that stuff over there. And my very own shy little boy over my far inside is Mike Stine. How are you?
I'm doing okay, Travis.
No time to clam. No time to clam up now, because joining us here in the studio, we have also an APF 1 accredited farrier, Elise Umstead. How are you? And thank you very much for joining us this week on Equine Dynamics.
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
So you are new to this business, from my understanding.
Yeah.
Now
Yes, I've been a farrier for 8 years.
It says you're an owner of a multi-discipline farrier business in Virginia. When you say multiple discipline, I guess that would go for dressage and all that. How long have you've been doing it for 8 years? What made you get into it? Now, here, I always say this all the time. Anytime I have a guest on the show, I always go, okay, one, the way they got into it was their grandfather and their father. They were the only ones that were on the farm that had horses, and they were the only ones that could do the horses, you know, to trim the horses' feet and stuff. And then the child, the offspring of the parent or whatever, wanted to do that and ended up just falling in suit with the family and everything. So, Elise, what's your story? Did I nail that on the head outside of the area that you might have been in?
No, actually, I had no desire to be a farrier. I grew up around horses, but my goal was to go to vet school. So I kind of pursued that path. I have a bachelor's degree from Colorado State University in animal sciences. And my mom actually... Stop.
I'm awfully sorry. It is really, really bad breaking up. I'm catching every third.
World pretty completely. I'm going to backtrack just a hair. I grew up around horses. I loved horses. I thought I wanted a career in horses. I just thought it was going to be vet school.
Stop. Let me back out on my end, because it's the same. So let me back out. You stay where you're at. So me and Mike are going to go away, and you'll see us pop back in. So let me see if it'll fix it on my end. See you later. You know what?
I can switch it to my phone.
I was just going to say, can you do your phone?
Yeah. Let me try that.
Same link, same link. So, yeah, sign out and then go right to your phone. Hello.
Hello.
Oh.
Better?
Yes.
Okay. All right, let me just resituate real quick.
Burn that laptop.
Ew.
Oh, that's so much better. Yes. Clearer, better. The colors are more vibrant, and don't put the horns behind your head.
Yeah, you got antlers coming out the top of your head.
That would be accurate, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good right there. That's fine.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Let me take the bar out.
There
of
it is.
There. Okay.
Oh, that's perfect.
Okay. Better.
All right. So, that's perfect. Perfect. Right. So where I left off is I went back and listened to it when I said about the history of how you became, and is that the path that you took? So that's where we're
start that whole conversation.
Yes.
Over
Okay,
perfect.
All right. So all I'm going to say is that the path you took, and that's basically when I was talking about fathers and grandfathers and all that stuff. So is that the path you took?
Actually, no. I never wanted to be a farrier. I grew up around horses. I remember seeing them in the barn. I remember smelling like hot fitting and thinking, absolutely not. That is not for me. I wanted a career in horses. I knew that. And I pursued vet school. I went to Colorado State University, where my bachelor's degree in animal sciences is from. But after my 4 years in undergrad, I decided not to go to vet school. I was pretty burnt out at the time. And I pursued a lot of different other careers. I ran a 4,000 head breed to wean hog farm in Nebraska, where my husband and I got together and we moved all over the country. He's in the military. When we got back to Virginia, or when he was stationed in Virginia, I decided that was a good opportunity to maybe go back to vet school. I was kind of feeling like that's the career path I wanted to actually pursue, when my mom came into the picture and said, well, why don't you become a farrier? And I remember thinking, like, again, no, that doesn't sound pleasant at all. I went to a vet farrier clinic at the Meyer Equine Institute in New Hampshire, or in New England, and was just hooked immediately. I saw the benefits that a farrier could have. I didn't realize how intricate it was, how involved, that by doing things to the feet of the horse, we're actually affecting not just the foot, but the entire body. And I was immediately drawn in, signed up for farrier school not that much long later, after that clinic, and the rest is pretty much history.
You know,
and I don't regret it.
And we have this image in our mind, and I've said this before, of the old black and white movies, the old blacksmith, and he's just whacking and hammering on it, and then, you know, he turns the horse loose and all that stuff. Now back, of course, the black and white movies, they're not doing dressage, they're not doing eventing, they're not doing, the what's the long distance one?
They're herding cows.
Yeah, they're herding cows. They just want something to protect their feet. So yes, having that vet background experience, a lot of people don't know that. I mean, Granted, Mike doesn't have a vet experience, but he has absorbed so much from his 40 years, his career. Mike, you can shake your head yes.
Okay, I'm still absorbing.
But he's worked, hand in hand, side by side with a lot of different vets in itself. And Mike just has this capacity of absorbing knowledge and information that's beneficial for his field. So you having that vet background, you would think, I don't want to say it's not a girl sport, because we typically look at it as a man's sport. But I've seen we've had so many different.
That's changed a lot.
That's what I was going to say. We have had so many different vet farriers on our not vet farriers, vet farriers, but female farriers on our show, and they're just, we had, what's her name, who was like 97 pounds, and she was swinging a hammer out there.
Yeah, down there in Louisiana.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I just went blank on that one.
That's all right. So you've been doing this for 8 years. Now, what is one of the things that you, as a vet and as a farrier, how do those two kind of coincide together to help you achieve, you have a business and everything. How do the two work hand in hand for you?
I just want to be very clear. I'm not a veterinarian.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you're schooling. Yeah, you're schooling.
So I have pre-vet background,
okay,
but I'm not a veterinarian. I'm sorry, could you say that question one more time?
Just the background that you learned from having that vet background, the schooling for it. Has it helped you, or how does it help you when you're just regular shoeing a horse's foot? Like I was saying, just not just swinging a hammer type deal.
Sure. So my freshman year was mostly focused on equine. So we did a lot of understanding of the entire body, not just the feet, but muscle
structure.
Is that what it is? The structure of the horse.
English class is my next class, so don't worry.
I learned about horses from the top down. And I think now as a farrier, how I was taught in farrier school, it's very from the ground up. We mostly focus on the feet. So I feel like I had a different perspective because I was learning about the entire animal, how it worked as a whole, before I ever picked up a foot.
Now, you one of the things that you wanted to talk about is, and Mike has brought this up many, many times, is the communication between you and your farrier. And what do we need to say? What do I, as the horse owner, because I don't know if you know this or not, I'm basically the simpleton of the show. My wife will go, oh my God, I forgot Mike's coming over. Can you go down and do the horses? And I'm like, okay, because I got to round them up and put them in the stall and bring them out and send them all that. And every time I go down there, I have to ask Mike, am I putting the cross reins on the right hook or the right loop on the side? That's how simple I am. So, but I don't want to do something wrong. Now, being that Mike and I have had a long career together, I pretty much can just ask him, hey, Mike, what am I doing wrong? And he says...
I tell him. Usually not the right thing, but I tell him something.
What do you want new riders and maybe even old school veteran riders to know how important it is to communicate with your farrier?
It's extremely important. You know, we're only there for a certain amount of time during 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 week cycles. So anything that happens between the time that we leave and the time that we come back, I want to know about. I want to know if there was an injury. I want to know if there was a diet change, pasture change. You know, we keep pretty good track of the weather. All of those things go into what I do when I'm trimming or shoeing a horse. If anything happens in between, that could influence the foot that I'm picking up. You know, what I do, or when I'm done with the horse and I put the foot down and everything looks good, if I pick up the foot and something looks completely different and I'm not hearing about it from the owner, then I'm starting to ask questions. Me personally, I want to know anything. It doesn't have to be, you know, something as serious as like, oh, Fluffy got stuck in the fence. It could be, oh, well, they had a cold and we had some vaccines done, because that could change the health of the horse, what I'm seeing when I'm coming back. So for me, I want to know everything. I think communication in any capacity is really, really important for us.
Now, do you ask those questions when you come in?
Yeah.
I mean, because Mike comes in, and Mike, you know, he looks at my horses, and you know, our horses, they're retired. They were show horses, and my wife has excelled past their level of expertise. So we've had to, you know, get a horse that's a little bit, you know, more advanced. So we have these horses that we really don't, you know, lunge line now and then, just give them, you know, a little exercise and give them a job to do. What were you gonna say, Mike?
Yeah, anyway, go ahead. Keep going.
And so Mike comes in, and he doesn't, I don't want to say he doesn't ask me anything. I always say, you know, how do the horse's feet look? Because I feel like I need to ask that question. You know, Mike, how the tires look on that? You know, I mean, you're asking these simple questions.
Right.
But so, Elise, you come in and you say, I mean, do you have a rundown list? Hey, is everything going all right? Is everything fine? You know, what's the latest thing and what's the latest thing? Do you physically ask that? Because I've seen farriers come in not ask a single thing at all. Not necessarily Mike, but other people.
That's pretty detrimental. Now, for the most part, we can walk into a barn and see, before we even pick up the foot, you know, we do a whole body check, or we should, just to kind of see what's different or anything's changed. But I'll ask, you know, how did things go over the last cycle? And my clients know that if something changes, they can text me, they can call me. I prefer if they let me know ahead of time. That way I can prepare myself for whatever situation I might be walking into.
Yeah. I've been done this long enough with my clients. They just go ahead and start. If something's changed, they just go ahead and tell me.
Yeah.
You know, and they're trained pretty good on that.
All right, we're going to take a quick little break, and we're going to come back. We're going to talk to Elise Umstead a little bit more about what a farrier wants information from a vet visit. So stick around. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back. So much better.
Yes.
Good.
Oh, you would have not been happy with the results of the other part. You would have been, you might see it in the first segment or the first part of the segment, how you kind of, it stuttered and stuff. I'm so glad. Thank you very much for having the patience to stick with us while we figured this out. While Mike figures it out, he would have hit it with a hammer.
That's right.
Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. Don't forget, for every podcast we do, we have a matching video over on YouTube. Just search Equine Dynamics Mike Stine over on YouTube. And Mike, your subscribers over there are creeping up. I think you're getting closer to 2,500 views, or not 2,500 views, 2,500 subscribers over there. And you too can be part of that crew. Just go to Equine Dynamics Mike Stine over on YouTube. Give us a subscribe over there, and you can see all the different clinics, all the different guests we have here in the studio. And you can also see the full-length podcast in its true form as we record it right here in the studio. And joining us, and over my far inside, my very own recording aid is Mike Stine. How are you?
I'm doing good, Travis. How are you, and how are you, Elise?
I'm doing well, thank you.
And joining us in the studio, also an APF 1 accredited farrier, is Elise Umstead, all the way from Virginia, joining us this week on the show. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
And so we're going to talk about a little bit. You went to vet school, and you got burned out on vet school. No, did I mess that up?
I did not go to vet school.
No,
no vet school.
No vet school. You went to school to learn about equines.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to mess that up. I'll edit that out. Don't worry. And you got burned out on it. Well, you did successfully, and then you were like, "Oh, well, let's change directions," and you went into being a farrier. And what we want to know now is what your farrier, you being a farrier, seeing like the behind the scenes of stuff as far as the schooling and everything. What do you need from your farrier or from your vet when I'm going to spit this out here. Hold on. Your farrier wants from your vet when they come for a visit. That's
Yes.
what. Yeah. So what do you?
That's what you're trying to get to.
That's what I'm trying to get to. So you were talking about like rads, photos, and videos. So when we talk about rads, what are rads?
Radiographs, pictures.
Okay. I was asking Elise that.
Oh,
No, Mike.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, so we're looking for X-rays. Essentially, we just coin them as radiographs.
Now, if you're gonna take photos, like you're at home and you're taking photos for your horse, how would you approach that? What's the path that you would take as far as making sure you can take correct photos for your horses to show your farrier?
So I like full body photos, so side to side, front to back, and over the back, because body posture influences the feet and vice versa. That way I can also see a good conformational photo too, and you can determine pretty quickly what is conformation versus posture. So conformation is how the horse is structurally built. We cannot change that, versus posture, which is just how they stand to be comfortable. Like you and I will shift our weight from side to side. Horses can do the same thing. They're very closely linked, conformation and posture. Posture or conformation will influence posture, so sometimes that can be confused. But the photos and even videos are very helpful. I also like lateral, so standing from the side of the horse at the leg and foot, hopefully getting the entire leg, at least knee down, because then I can see a little bit more. And then from the front. And the important thing is to be squared up to the leg. A lot of times clients, and Mike, you could probably attest to this, will send oblique photos. And while that's good, it's still information. It's not all of the information. I'd prefer a more squared up photo.
yeah.
So that all can kind of influence, or at least tell me what I'm going to be walking into in any sort of situation before I get there.
Now, how often would you like to see like updated photos? Is it like every month, every other month, or just when incidents happens, or once a year type deal?
So for radiographs, I would love if horse owners would at least do them once a year. Not everybody will do that. Sometimes it's pulling teeth to even get radiographs during a medical situation. But that's just a way to create a baseline. Sometimes if we're having pathology that comes up all of a sudden and we're just now getting radiographs and they see some changes, we can't really determine if that is a new change or something that has been prolonged. You know, that can vary between whatever pathology we're looking at. But I would love if we could get radiographs at least once a year.
Now,
do you agree, Mike?
Oh yes, definitely, for sure. And you know, I've people you do too. They call. I've got some radiographs from 2 years ago. Something's going on with my horse. What can you? And they want you to look at 2-year-old radiographs.
and they're like 5 years old.
And we can tell the horse where the horse was 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Now, what about people that are like constantly in shows? I mean, people that's their career, that's their life. Would you do those a little bit more frequent because they are more active rather than your pasture ponies or things of that nature?
I think it depends. I think a year is probably pretty good regardless of whatever level you are on, unless there is something that is going on and you're trying to monitor it, then maybe 6 months, kind of depending.
Yeah, and you know, 6 months. It depending on the situation. Like with some of the laminitic horses, we want them a lot quicker than that. If you're working on those.
So let's
I
say
have a limited course that will do rads every 3 months, just because we had such a severe amount of rotation and sinking.
Right.
So we're just, and the horse is fine now, but we still do rads every 3 months just to make sure we're staying right in alignment.
Right.
Now, Mike always tells us he always has like case studies. He has challenges, and that's what he strives for. Now, on your level, do you have like, are you just doing the horses that are already, they're set, you've got them all trimmed and adjusted to where they wanted, or do people call you for like the trouble horses or, you know, the issued horses and things like that?
So my practice is mostly in sport horses with a focus on therapeutic cases, because as we know, when we're shoeing athletes, they're going to have injuries. I deal with a lot of variety, from laminitis and navicular. I've had fractured navicular bones. I've dealt with bowed tendons, lots of bowed tendons, torn ligaments, torn tendons, pedal osteitis, white line disease. I do a little bit of everything, or I have done a little bit of everything.
Now, let's say I'm going to get this.
And I think we're getting more tendon and ligament injuries now than we ever have.
I would
Some
agree
of us
with
the
that,
footing,
yeah.
some of us conditioning for the jobs.
And especially now with the grass coming in, don't you have to worry
We're
about
going to have some laminitis starting to flare up in this part of the country and everywhere else if people are not careful.
now?
Yeah.
Would you be opposed to let's say I have a pasture horse out there and he's doing well and he's trotting around, and you ask for do you have the latest X-rays, and I go, well, they're 5 years ago. Can you still just look at the horse's foot? Would you be inclined to go, well, I'd really do you push the rats? I know how important they are to have the X-rays done. Do you kind of lean into that? Like, I really can't do it. I can do this, but it's not going to be. It's a Band-Aid more than a solution type deal.
Yeah, I mean, if the horse is doing well, then I'm not as concerned at having radiographs right then and there. But it's almost like tying a hand behind your back. You want me to do a job. You want me to guess. And yeah, we can make educated guesses based off of external structures. But you're still asking me to guess what is going on and trim according to my educated guess. And sometimes we get that wrong. So I would rather have a solid amount of information before I do something, especially when it comes to horses with pathology.
Yep, for sure.
Now, a lot of people will say, well, I just can't afford the X-rays. I just can't afford this. Can you do something? Something. I mean, it's kind of sad. I mean, first of all, you have this animal that you're taking care of, and you're trying to do the best that you can, but you can't, quote unquote, afford to put the gasoline in the Jaguar car anymore, type deal.
Yeah, I mean, I can still do what I'm comfortable with, or a baseline trim, or at least, get the horse as comfortable as I can. But there's always a caveat to that. I tell the owners outright, this is as far as I can go, but until we have more information, I can't go any farther, and you need to understand that. It gives owners ownership of their decisions, and I think that's also really important. We can only do so much as hoof care practitioners. Owners do have to take ownership for their decisions.
Yes, definitely. And, some of those situations, like I warn young farriers, you got to be careful walking in on some of those, because expectations can be out of control, emotions are out of control, and they can turn into a bomb and just go off. And I've been caught up in that, and you're trying to do the best you can for the situation, and everything has to be laid out up front.
My client with the laminitic horse that we're doing rads every 3 months on, she's been coined the emotion at the end of the lead rope for those exact reasons. And she knows it. And that can be really hard to manage expectations when you want to do the best for the horse, but you are not just dealing with the horse in front of you, you're dealing with the owner too.
Right.
All right, guys, we're going to take a quick little break, and when we come back, we're going to find out what Elise needs when she gets into a new client, a questionnaire, per se. So stick around. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back. Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. Don't forget to follow Mike on Facebook. And the way you do that is just search Equine Dynamics, Mike Stine, over on Facebook. And Mike, you've been putting a bunch of different articles on there. Unfortunately, I have not been on Facebook. I got a ban. I got banned because I was a bad little boy. I got banned for 6 months, and so I just recently got back on it. And there's just a picture of me like in high school, and then that's it. That's all I got, because I learned my lesson. I was a bad boy. But if you have not learned your lesson, go over to Mike Stine over on Facebook, and you can see all the.
Then you can learn your lesson.
You can see all the great articles and everything that he's got going on. That fly is right on the front of your thing. Don't move.
Mike Rosen. Oh my gosh.
He just wanted to hit me with something.
Yeah, the old fly excuse. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
I was trying to get it right in the back of the head. I was waiting for it.
Oh,
Yeah, it should have, like with a iron frying pan or something.
This is the stuff that makes the video the hit.
Yes.
So make sure you join Mike Stine over on Facebook, and you see all the different articles that Mike's been posted up there. Mike, post that article that you just read at the beginning of the show. Make sure that goes up on your Facebook page. So there's a lot of people out there that want to know a little bit more about the what they're doing as far as the soaring of horses, and that would be very, very beneficial for a lot of people over there. And joining us over there on our far hand side, my very own batting cage, is Mike Stine. How are you?
I'm doing good, Travis. How are you, and how are you, Elise?
I'm doing well.
And joining us this week here in the studio is Elise Umstead, all the way from Virginia. She's an APF1 accredited farrier, as well as just like Mike Stine. But you're a little bit younger than Mike Stine. You've been doing this for, you said, 8 years now? Full-fledged 8 years doing this, and you still haven't turned around and ran away and gone back to something else.
There have definitely been moments, but I can't picture doing anything else at this point. I'm sucked in.
What's the one thing that kind of, I don't want to say that you hate doing the most, but you least like doing the most? If that makes any sense. Did I say that grammar? I did say English.
Say something,
yeah.
I don't think there's anything specifically that I don't love doing. Summertime as a whole is my least favorite part of this job.
And why is that?
The heat and humidity, the flies, the thing that will get me more irate than anything in 0.2 seconds is getting smacked in the face with a tail. If you haven't experienced that in your life.
Well, the flies are the only reason I have friends.
Yeah, it's
See, you missed that one.
I know. There he is right there. He's right on Mike's microphone. You see him flying around?
The fact that they're already coming out and it's only March.
I know.
Disturbs me greatly.
But really, a horse's tail in the face you have very, very long hair. You would think it would be.
It's not the same because they aim, they'll just see the tip of the tail right in your eyeball. And it's usually got poop on it. So,
no, it's not usually. It always has poop on it.
My horse accidentally.
Yeah, no.
So when you join, when someone calls Elise up and says, "Hey, I've got a new horse. I'm in the area, or do you cover my area?" That's one thing I want to ask. What's the area that you cover? Like, I don't want to say square mileage wise, but how big of an area do you actually cover?
So I have about a 2-hour radius. I don't advertise farther than an hour at this point, but I have some clients that have been with me for my whole career. So those are my farthest ones. And usually my radius goes east, west, south, about an hour to 45 minutes. And then north is my 2 hours. So Northern Virginia.
And do you have like a stipulation, like when people call and say, because Mike gets calls all the time. That's why we had to make him put on his phone on airplane mode. He always gets calls, can you come trim my horses? Like a one-off type thing.
Today?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you trim my horses today?
It needed it 5 years ago.
Right. So when you have these phone calls, what is your approach? What is step 1, step 2, leading up to where you actually meet face-to-face with a client?
So the first thing I do is figure out if they are in my travel radius and if I want to take them on. Once we figure out distance, then I will send my new client questionnaire. And this is just a way to get more information from clients before I ever show up to a barn. And this is not my idea. I've learned this from farriers that have been in far longer than I have been. But I adopted it after a time when I took on a client, I didn't ask relevant questions, showed up to a barn thinking it was going to be a regular horse, and it was a Belgian draft horse.
Right.
So, and I had quoted my horse trim price and not my draft trim price. So I ate the cost on that one. Another time I thought it was raining outside. I showed up to a new client thinking that they would have shelter or at least cancel the appointment because of the weather. And they hadn't. So I assumed, we have a barn or some shelter to work in. And it was pouring rain in the middle of the pasture.
Oh, really?
After that, we changed some things up.
Now, because I would think, this is the way I would think,
right?
That I'm a horse owner, and horse owners, in my opinion, can do no wrong. And if you hand me a piece of paper saying, well, do you have shelter? Well, of course I have shelter. I'm a horse owner. I have all this stuff. But a lot of people don't think about the basic stuff. So what are some of the questions that you have outside of, what kind of horse is it? What kind of shelter do you have? Electricity, lighting, because I know that we had to put in extra lighting for Mike down at our barn because when he came in, we had it just for the wash rack. To wash, the horse, but not in we do have an aisleway light, but not enough for where Mike can actually do his job correctly, especially if he comes in the evening or later after the sun gets a little closer.
At midnight, do the horses.
In the dark. So, when it's, daylight out there in the afternoon, there's plenty of light because it's a through barn. But as that sun goes down, it gets kind of dark in there. And I have to basically bring like a small little flood lamp for him. Are those type of questions that you have? What are some that you have on your sheet?
So I ask age and breed, of horses because a 2-year-old is probably going to be different from a 20-year-old. Breed, I want to know if they are regular horses or draft horses because my prices vary. I ask what discipline they are in, if they are pasture puffs, if they are show horses. I want to know what their future goals are. I ask where I'm potentially working. Is it going to be a barn, a shed row? I've had people throw up tarps for me or tents in the pasture. That's fine. I just want to know where I could potentially be working. Some of my other questions,
It's okay. I didn't mean to put you on the spot there.
I was asking about vets.
Because that's what I say. Electric. I know your unit's probably. Do you have a big? Let me word this correctly. I don't want to say yeah. Do you have a big unit out there? But do you have on your truck? Do you have like the big full casing, the 3,000 pounds with all the horseshoes and everything on a vehicle that you drive around?
I have a trailer.
Okay, a trailer. Okay,
yeah.
And with 3,000 pounds of horseshoes. Yeah,
you probably can get a little bit more on there too. Do you have your own electric supply or power supply?
I do have so the trailer has a light itself, and then I bring in some lights to the barn. And that is a question I ask. What is the lighting situation? Because just like you said, if I can't see what I'm doing, I'm likely not going to be doing a very good job. We're working with very large animals. With very sharp tools and a very small margin of error. So if we can't see what we're doing, that's not a good thing.
Here's a question I just thought of, because I just recently I just switched my dentist office from the one I go down in the fancy town up here to country town up here.
Okay.
One of the questions they asked me is, what's my doctor's name? Just in case of an emergency. Is that something that you have on your form? If you would have, what's your vet's name, or not necessarily emergency contact, but where's your horse, the vet or of a doctor, if something absolutely happens and I need to call someone outside of the owner or the trainer of the horse. Is there, do you have a vet's name or a line for a vet's name?
So if we get into more of the, yes, I'm going to work on your horses, I've decided to hire you, you've decided to hire me, then we'll go into more of the veterinary realm. Who's your vet? Who's your trainer? Because, and another question that I'm asking is there any relevant medical history? Do you have recent radiographs? A lot of the times I'm coming into therapeutic cases, so they'll have radiographs, they'll have the vet, and I know quite a few of the veterinarians in my area. We talk enough to know that I can call them and we can have offline discussions about whatever's going on with the horses. But when I get into the actual, yes, we're going to be working together, then I'll start to ask those questions.
Hey, I usually go ahead and start asking about vets and trainers before I commit to working together.
And why do you
And
why do you do that?
I just want to know what I'm walking into. And
is that an approach that makes sense to you, Elise?
Yeah. I think it's personal preference too.
Yeah.
I'm still learning what works best for me as I come up into this business, and that might change as I progress a little bit more.
Yeah, I always do a phone interview. I don't have a form for them to fill out because
Mike's got a mental form right here.
Yeah.
Not only is he mental, he does have the form as well. All right, guys.
I've got a brain like a mushy sponge.
All right, guys. We're going to take a quick little break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about what factors are influencing shoeing and how to prepare your farrier for a visit. So stick around. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back. Welcome back to Equine Dynamics. Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. Don't forget, you can be part of the show. The way you do that is go to equinedynamics.com. At the top of the page says join the podcast. Click on that. You can listen to all the past different podcasts that we've been doing here for over the last 4 years, Mike. This is season 12. Yeah, 4 years of doing this show.
Starting to figure out how it's sort of supposed to be done, hopefully in the next couple of years.
It scares me. Some of the questions that I ask, I'm like going, how do I know that? Why do I even know that? And it's from sitting behind this microphone doing it with you for the last 4 years, Mike. And you can go over there, join the podcast. If you got a microphone on your device, speak right into it. Comes right to our inbox. We broadcast every Monday morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, a little town we like to call Marshville. And your voice can be played right here on the air. Now, if you're too shy, you can leave us an email at that same email address. At that same website address, which is equinedynamics.com. Fill out that little form and make sure you put a physical return address, and we'll mail you out some stickers, some magnets, and all the good stuff just for being part of the show. And over to my far end side, my very own email address is Mike Stine. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you, Travis? How are you, Elise?
I'm great, thank you.
And joining us this week here in the studio is Elise Umstead, also an APF1 accredited farrier. New to the game for the most part. I mean, 8 years. You've been doing it for a while.
I'm a baby in the industry.
Yeah, I know. I hate to say baby, but I mean, compared to Mike, who's been doing it for 40 years and all those salty dogs, I've been doing it since horses were, yay tall. And, before that, horses had 4 legs, that type deal. 8 years is still a long time, but it is, compared to the knowledge and everything that's out there, it's still somewhat new. Now, I'm not saying you're naive to a lot of stuff. Mike will admit that I'm
naive to a lot of stuff.
Mike will admit as well that he's very naive to a lot of things, but you know what? He's got a good support team behind him. Do you have that kind of support team? Because Mike can call anyone, from across the United States. He's met, I think, touched every fair. Well, let me figure that one out. He has been in touch with every farrier here, from coast to coast, even down New Zealand, even people from across seas. And we've had people on the show from across seas as well. And he can reach out to them and say, "Hey, what do you think about this? Am I doing this right? What's your opinion on that?" Is that being a new farrier? Have you started that network as far as getting out there and having a reliable source of people to lay back on?
Oh, absolutely. And that started pretty much in farrier school. One of the things a lot of the instructors talked about was you need to have a support system and a network. Because if you don't, this job becomes very solitary. We are by ourselves most of the time. We can sit in our bad habits unless we, go out and network and talk to other people. Sometimes we don't know that we're doing things incorrect. And I think the more we learn, the less we know. And that can be overwhelming. So having a support system, having what I call a farrier family is incredibly important. And I'm very lucky to have people that I can chat with and network with.
I promise you, I keep finding out every year I'm dumber and dumber. As far as knowing what you know and what's being discovered and figured out there is just growing by leaps and bounds every year.
Now, one thing Mike always does, he's like, I need the next week off because I got a clinic or a thing that he's attending. He's not giving a clinic, but he's attending this at all, or some kind of what was the last one you went up to over in? You took a couple days off or a week off. What was the last clinic you went to?
At Doc's?
Yeah,
Doc Redden.
Yeah. Have you been out to Doc Redden's place there, Elise?
Not yet.
You have not yet. So from my knowledge, talking to Mike, it is a truly amazing experience. And the
last one was the Hoof Care Summit. Excuse me.
Yeah. Okay. So you went to the Hoof Care Summit, but still going out to Doc Redding. Now, Mike, do you think you could get her in there with your pole over at Doc Redding's place?
That's up to Doc Redden.
I'm sure he's a gentle soul and he would take you in.
Yeah.
But one of the things that we want to know now, what are some of the factors that people need to know to get ready for a farrier's visit?
So there's a quote by Dave Farley where he talks about shoeing a horse 100%. And there are factors that we need. We need a dry, well-lit area that's flat. We need a good standing horse. And he labels a couple of other things, but that is absolutely accurate.
Right.
Have your horses caught and prepared and clean for your farrier. Even pick out the feet for them. And that, I don't feel like that's asking very much. When you go to an appointment, you are prepared for whatever appointment you're going to, be it the doctor, the dentist, your mechanic, your veterinarian. You should be doing the same thing for the farrier. For me, my day is scheduled out to the minute almost. I know exactly how long it's going to take for me to leave my house to go to my first stop, generally how much time it's going to take me at that stop, and then from point A to point B, the amount of time, and so on and so forth throughout my entire day. So things that can affect my timeliness is if the horse is not ready for me. So that is something that's really important for horse owners to acknowledge is your farriers have a schedule. We'd like to keep them on schedule. Have your horse caught and ready to go and clean, please. It's
tough doing your best work on a moving target.
Yes, absolutely. And dirty, muddy, wet target.
Right.
So what are some of the factors that influence shoeing that you've come across?
So these are things that the horse experiences through daily life. So environmental change, weather change, diet change, exercise, illness or pathology, all of those can influence the horse between cycles. And that kind of ties into information that I want to know before I even get to the horse, or communication in between cycles, because that can influence what I see when I leave the horse versus what I'm coming into when I see the horse for the next cycle. And I think sometimes owners don't always acknowledge that what happens in between our visits does affect the horse.
Right.
Now, in your personal experience, and I'm trying to be, I understand that a lot more females are coming into the farrier world. You are, and you guys are doing, I say you guys, listen to me. I think the female has making a big impact on the farriers as far as the way they approach and everything. Are you realizing any pushback or anything outside? Are you not struggling, but are you having issues like having people have confidence in you? I hate to say that. That's very, very bad for me to say. But I mean, the confidence that people would have, because, I mean, beautiful woman coming in, young woman coming in, and I'm the farrier, and people would look at you and going, you're a farrier type deal? I would not pick, if I saw you in the mall or something, I would say, there's no way that woman gets up underneath a horse and has hands like Mike Stine does. If you ever seen his hands, I don't think he's got a fingernail left on him type deal.
If you saw me in the mall, you think I shouldn't be in the mall.
Yeah, they probably.
Well, I wear gloves to kind of protect my hands a little bit. But no, I think that's a very good and valid question. I might have had some pushback in the very beginning, and that probably was more from lack of confidence because I was just coming out of farrier school into this industry and maybe not knowing as much as I know now. But for the most part, I really have not had any opposition being a woman in this industry.
Well, that's good for you because I can tell your confidence just talking to you. I can feel like I would trust you 100%. I mean, outside, us just knowing each other and everything like that, I would have no qualms or anything about you or Mike Stine or anyone that has the ability and the knowledge that you have to work on my horse. If it shouldn't matter, I hate to say it, but we do judge male and female that way. I think if you know the knowledge, if you've got the training and you have the experience, no matter who you are, you should be able to have that opportunity and be on the same level playing field as anyone else across the board.
I think part of it too is perceived value. Even right out of farrier school, I was posting, I use social media a lot to an advantage, I think. I was talking about the clinics that I was attending, the things that I was learning, the people that I was networking with. Even though I didn't have the experience, I was still showing people that I was trying to learn to be better. I've done the same thing as I've progressed throughout my career. My clients know that they can talk to me and communicate with me. And I think, especially because most horse owners are women to woman, having conversations or being open, allowing your clients to talk to you as a professional changes a lot of the dynamic. And, because I've done some of those things as I've progressed, I'm sought out over other farriers. And I don't mean that to be in, a cocky way, but I've had people tell me they look specifically for women farriers now.
And one thing, I hate to say this, I'm seeing this a lot, this record's getting broken here, but, women are somewhat intimidated by a male farrier coming in. Because I say women horse riders, women trainers are intimidated by a male farrier coming in because, they would say absolutely what's wrong with the horse. And a lot of times, and I hate to say this, Mike, I'm putting it on your shoulder because you're the representative for the male race here, that a lot of them go, well, I don't want to say you don't know what you're talking about, but there are men out there that'll say you don't know what you're talking about. And because I am the thing, and so that's where Elise comes in and says, "Look, I'm no different than the guy down the road. I can do this. It's no different than me going to see my doctor. I've had a female doctor for the last 15 years or whatever, and I've changed from female to male to female to. I don't care. Just get the job done, do it right, do it correctly, and make sure that everything's up and right and healthy.
I think as long as we're working for the best interest of the horse, it doesn't matter.
We need to get past that. We need to get past that this image that Hollywood has portrayed as far as being this rough-tugged Mike Stine looking guy. He's got not that Mike smokes or anything, but a cigarette hanging out of one side of his mouth, and
Well, if I smoke, it's an accident.
Right, exactly. We need to learn that even 20 years ago, you didn't see a whole lot of females, but you're seeing more and more now.
All the time.
All the time. We're going to take one more quick little break and let you get back to enjoying your pony. So stick around. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back. Elise, I hope I didn't throw you off on that.
No, not
Okay.
that was a great question. I'm glad you asked that because it is very relevant.
It's kind of like the elephant in the room. No one wants to talk about it. And I was trying to figure out the best way to bring it up without sounding like a complete bastard.
No, I think you did a good job.
Okay, thank you. See, Mike?
You did.
She said I do a good job.
Well, I guess I'll have to now then, won't I?
What's interesting about that, though, is I've actually had more women ask me what it's like or how I feel in the industry than male farriers. I really don't have. I've not had anybody be like, "Well, you can't do this because you're a woman." Although I don't get taken as seriously if I'll look like this when I go to clinics and I'm not registered as a farrier, or people don't think I am a farrier, and that can get a little frustrating.
Well,
I like to go to clinics where they don't think I am.
you got to throw a little bit more mud under your fingernails or something. I don't know what you got to do, but welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. Don't forget, you can have this podcast perform at your location. If you got a garage sale, if you got a barn, if you're outside standing in the rain, we can do this podcast.
We can stand in the rain.
We can stand in the rain. It might not last long, but we'll do it. We can do this podcast at your location. The way you do that is to go to equinedynamics.com. At the top of the page says clinics. Fill out that little form. We'll pencil you in. We got a couple dates still in the works. We still got to wait for the ink to dry on the contracts. Let me move this all the way. For the inks to dry on the contracts, but we will let you know as soon as we are out and about on town, and you can come visit us, and we'll let you know. So make sure you stay tuned to every podcast from here to eternity. And over to my far inside is Mike Stine. How are you?
I'm doing good, Travis. How are you? And how are you, Elise?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Good.
And joining us this week is Elise Umstead. Joining us, she is a APF1 accredited farrier as well, just like Mike. A little bit younger in the business, a little bit newer in the business as well, but she is doing okay and handling her own. All right, Mike, what did we learn today?
What did we learn today?
Communicating with your farrier. What are the main things that you need to know when you're communicating with your farrier? Elise?
I don't think any detail is too small. I would like to know everything that happens between our last visit and when I'm coming in for the next visit.
Mike?
Yeah, and if what she said.
That's real good radio, Mike.
Yeah, what she said. You definitely want a communication. If something's going on with a horse in the training process, I need to know.
Also, when taking photos and videos of a horse for your farriers, how often and how frequently, and what they should look like, and the best way to take those. Elise?
So for radiographs, if we are having a horse that has pathology, maybe 3 months, maybe every 6 months, and for general, maintenance, at least a year would be wonderful. As far as just regular photographs, just to let us know what's going on. We love lateral, so to the side, dorsal from the front, both sides of the horse, front and back, even from the top down, just to see what's going on.
Mike?
Yes, and I've had videos in the past. Somebody's taking videos of a horse trying to work, and they're trying to keep it from the knee down, the hock down, and just look at feet. And there's so much of your information, 90+% of your information is coming from the body. When you're looking at the movement patterns.
Also, when Elise has a questionnaire or has a new client, she has a questionnaire, which I think is a good job. Mike, basically his questionnaires are in his head. So the questions that you want to have to ask your new clients when signing on, and how to prepare for a farrier's visit.
So I love to know what the age of the horse is, their breed. I want to know their discipline, if there's any relevant hoof health history, if there's radiographs that they have to go, where I will potentially be working. Is it a shed row, a pasture, a barn, or when they were done last and what kind of shoeing cycle they have been on, just to have that information is very helpful, just to know what I'm getting into before I take on a client.
Mike?
Right, always.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish.
I was just saying that if I want to take on that client, I just like to have that information ready to go.
Okay, Mike?
And I always like to know what are the professionals that I'm going to be working with.
Like the vet, the trainer, the owner, like the whole list and all that. So one question I do want to ask you.
The trainer would be the main ones. Yeah.
One question I did want to ask you is, where should I stand? when I'm watching Mike do my horses. Where
It's the proper place to write a check.
Well, normally I got a little chair right there that we in the main aisle of the way, and I sit down there, and you know what I do? I got my phone out and I'm looking at TikTok and I'm looking at this and this and this. Where should I be? Where should I stand?
But you definitely should not be on your phone, because the job of the holder is to watch us and make sure we are safe. You are our eyes and our ears. You let us know the behavior of the horse. You can see what the eye is doing, the mouth is doing, the ears are doing. You are our safety net. When we are underneath the horse, we can't really see. We can feel some things, but we can't see what the facial expressions are. And that can protect us. I mean, that makes a difference between we're walking out of that barn that day or we might not. So when we are under the horse, I prefer my handler to be on the same side of me, either front or back foot. And then when I bring the foot forward, I like the handler to be on the opposite side. And that just gives both of us a way to escape if the horse decides to leave. Also, if you are on the other side, it allows the horse to go straight so you don't get knocked over.
Mike?
Right. And talking about that, there are horses in some of the situations where some of my owners do not handle the horses because sometimes they're better for somebody else.
I was going to say, but Mike's been in barns where he does like 7 to 18 horses at a time. Can you have someone standing there the whole entire time you're doing every single horse?
Oh, yeah.
Do you really? Okay.
Sometimes they rotate who's handling horses, but yes.
I was unaware of that.
To that end, too, sometimes I can't have clients holding horses. Right. The energy that they're bringing in does not mesh well while I'm working on the horse. So I've locked clients in tack rooms. I have them stand outside the barn. Usually I'll have my intern handle the horses for me if that's the situation, because it's my safety.
All right, Elise, where can our listeners get a hold of you or any kind of contact if they have questions for you?
My social media is all the same. It's Umstead Farrier. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook.
Anything else you want to add, Mike?
I think that covers it pretty good.
Well, we'd like to thank Elise Umstead, APF 1 accredited farrier, and a very charming young lady joining us here on the program this week.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yep, thank you for being here.
On behalf of Mike Stine over there.
Thank you. Enjoy your ponies and have a good day.
My name is Travis, saying see you next week. Woo! All right, we made it. I am so sorry at the beginning of the program. I didn't want that to spoil your
No, thank you for letting me know.
The mojo on that.
Right.
Hi, Lucky.
So what's going to happen now is Mike's going to go away.
Good night, Ned.
Like a bad fungus.